Good afternoon. My name is Brian Levine. I am from Newcastle, Pennsylvania, which is like an hour, 15 minutes from here, Lawrence County. About an hour north of Pittsburgh, 5 hours or so from Philadelphia. I have a statewide practice in probate estate administration. That is all we focus on. I'm a third-generation lawyer. My dad was a lawyer. He passed. His dad was a lawyer. He passed. My uncle was an attorney in Pittsburgh. My sister's an attorney. My cousin's an attorney. We're a family of attorneys. All those bad jokes. What I did is I took my father and his father's Western Pennsylvania practice that practiced a number of different practice areas, and I honed that into probate estate administration. I know a lot of firms market or promote, we exclusively do law. Our practice area is limited to law. Really, all we do is probate estate administration. We're the fiduciary. We're either the administrator or we're representing the executor or the administrator. No litigation. We don't really get involved in probate litigation. We leave that to other attorneys just because of the volume that we get of administration throughout the state. I can probably say I've traveled to most of the 67 courthouses. I have not met a lot of you personally, but my office has done work in, I would say, any county that's being represented here. My office has done work in it. The rest of the bio is at the back of the packet. So this is going to be about a 30, 45-minute presentation. Try to keep it quick. I'm not up here to hear myself talk. I wanted to run you guys through some stuff of some research that we basically come across for e-notary. So what this handout is doing is it is going through legal statutory authority in the Pennsylvania legislature. Since 2020, it has been legal, allowed in Pennsylvania to do remote online notarization. That acronym is RON, Remote Online Notarization, which is AKA e-notarization. That has been allowed on the legislative books of Pennsylvania since 2020. Very few register of wills have been using it, though. And that's really what we're here to talk about today. The adjustments that have been made by row offices and recorder of deed offices since COVID-19. In my world of register of wills, the biggest change during COVID-19 and since COVID-19 has been the virtual appointments, where you can open estates and don't have to physically go into the register of wills office anymore. This same technological concept and legislative agenda and public policy is in mind with this remote online notarization and the recommendation for all of our offices to begin using it for the reasons that I'm going to explain today. But I start out by saying crystal clear, this is not a gray area, this is black and white. Since 2020, there is law on the books that it is totally allowed for register of wills to use this remote online notarization. And there are also no exceptions or restrictions or prohibitions in the Pennsylvania Code that have anything to do with a register of will office not being allowed to accept e-notarized documents into probate. My office checked all those things in the preparation of a research memo that was prepared for you all so that you could feel comfortable in making this change. Effective immediately, frankly. There's no reason not to. So, if you're following along on the first page, you'll notice that under Roman numeral 1 issue, much better. Much better. Much better. Under row numeral 1 issue, you will notice that it says legal authority for Rose to admit, and my emphasis here is on the parentheses, post-mortem e-notary documents into probate. This is a step-by-step approach that we are recommending to all the rows in Pennsylvania that they begin getting used to the post-mortem documents. And I've outlined ABC, what I feel are the most popular ones. The renunciations, the releases, the estate family settlement agreements. The rules and legislative authority. So this conference and this speech is not meant to hit regular estate planning documents like wills and powers of attorney and things of that nature. That's not to say that the 2020 legislation doesn't allow for it. It's my interpretation and conclusion that you can do remote online notarization for post-mortem and pre-mortem documents. I'm just offering as a practical suggestion to your offices that we begin in baby steps, so to speak, with the post-mortem documents, track those results for about a year, with each of you keeping a log purposefully by design each time you were admitting e-notarized documents into probate. And we'll come back here in about a year and talk about everyone's experiences, which I expect to be mainly positive, and really hopefully not negative at all. And then in about a year's time, hopefully we could be talking about, well, if we work this well with post-mortem documents, let's take another step and say that your offices under the 2020 law can really begin accepting all kinds of documents, including wills that attorneys would begin to have executed with e-notarization. So, for the practical application under, well, let me go back to Roman numeral 2. For the rules and legislative authority, the A, B, C are the most noteworthy sections, and they are in your handout. You can read them in your own time. I can also email you the digital copy so that you can click on all the statutory references. But the next page, if you turn the page, is referring to the legislative authority of Act 97. So, please be advised that on October 29th, 2020, the 2020 Act 97, we'll refer to this as Act 97. That's when the remote online notarization became permanently effective in Pennsylvania. Prior to October of 2020, in variations and for different limited purposes, the state started to allow under COVID-19 to begin accepting remote notarized documents. And then in October, the state made this permanent change that says effective now and moving forward, and it hasn't been abolished since. We're going on 5 years, and no registers of wills are really using this yet. I found no holes in it that restrict you from doing so. When you turn the page to the next page, at the top it says a further review of the controlling statute, being Act 97. Under this particular code of reference, this section 325 indicates that there are no exceptions where e-notarized documents are prohibited. The reason that I bring that to your attention is section 335 has several delineated exceptions. Probate documents and registers of wills are not one of them. Now, going down to the second half of this page is really the practical application, takeaway message, walking out of here, moving forward. So, Terry is going to come up in a minute, my paralegal, and give a demonstration and kind of a e-notary mock session. And so, imagine a hypothetical where an attorney or an administrator is now applying for probate, And it really doesn't make any difference if they're doing it the good old-fashioned way by scheduling an appointment and walking in for a physical appointment, or if they're doing it for a virtual appointment. Under either scenario, and they inform your office that part of their submission includes, remote online notary, e-notarized documents. That's now going to set off a trigger with your office that's going to allow you to verify and validate if this particular Jane Doe, Bob Smith e-notary is approved by the Department of State. There is a place for an e-notary to go to be registered and approved by the Pennsylvania Department of State. That is a filing fee. That is something that has to be done as part of an application process. So in Pennsylvania, there's probably 85,000 notaries-ish, and there's probably another 2,000 of those 85, a very small number, that are e-notary approved. And you have to fill out a separate application, and then the application is approved, and then you have to do a couple other housekeeping things, and then you can log into the Department of State, and it'll print out for you e-notary status. Yes. Now, what I'm standing here and telling each of you is the easy solution to this for every single estate that is applied for through your office is to make sure that the attorney or the administrator, or you can do a self-check, that this particular e-notary, that e-notarized a renunciation, is approved with the Department of State. If they're approved, then they are in compliance with Act 97. If they're not approved and their e-notary status says no, it's black and white. You can't accept those documents. You will get into trouble. If the e-notary status says yes, you will not get into trouble for accepting those documents. Flip the page. This is just more reference to this Act 97 and all of the language with it. Again, I think it's a lot easier. We'll have a sign-up list when we're done speaking, and if you guys want to give your email, we will give you a digital copy of this, so you can just click on it in the memo. But all of these pages that you're flipping through are the legislative law that I didn't write, our Pennsylvania Congress wrote. And then if you keep skipping forward, you'll eventually come to the page that says Section 325 of the Prohibited Acts, which we just talked about. Okay, when you get to the next page, everybody should be on the page that now says this is your search. If you want to do a self-check, if the Register of Wills Office wants to do a self-check before you make a decision that you're going to admit these documents into probate, you see where it says Terry Book, that's my lovely paralegal, so we're using her as an example. You see on the left column where it says 2 from the bottom, e-notary status. Yes. Does everybody see that? Because that's what I'm referring to. As long as you see yes, you're golden. You can accept the documents as long as you would accept them otherwise. Obviously. I want that to be obvious. There's no extra requirements. You go through the same analysis in your office as to, okay, this looks good, I don't have any further questions, or I do have further questions, we need to ask about blah, blah, blah before we decide to open the estate, as long as this e-notary status says yes. I'm beating it in like a dead horse because it's that important, and once you remember, I don't think that's going to change. When you flip the page again, this is the letter that Terry Book at my office received from the Department of State that in the first sentence says your notification to the Department of State says you have been approved. So an e-notary has to, like I said, proactively go through this application process, and then I'm showing you what a letter looks like that they would receive by way of reference. Then the notary has to, on his or her own, get registered. I am now going, when you turn the page, the next thing you should see are 2 signature pages. I'm going to turn the presentation over to Terry, and then I'll come back up to do some closing remarks, and we'll do some Q&A for practical application.